Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Fan Art Friday. In this video I'm drawing Eren Jaeger from Attack on Titan. I worked on a bunch of the different Attack on Titan drawings last year, specifically quite a lot of the Titans themselves, and I recently worked on a drawing of Levi. So it's nice to finally get around to working on a drawing of Eren. A lot of you have been asking for this one, and I was really excited to work on it. Thanks once again for leaving all your drawing suggestions in the comments below. I really appreciate it, and it really helps me out with these Fan Art Friday videos. For the outlines of this drawing, I started off with a sepia coloured Copic multiliner pen that's 0.05mm. I actually spent a lot of extra time working on the outlines of this drawing, as I wanted them to have more of an impact with the colouring. With the sepia tone, I wanted them to work well with the brown hair of Eren and his tanned clothing. I thought this was a good chance for me to test out the kind of effect you can have with just focusing more time on the outlines. For the colouring of this drawing I used Copic Markers, and to start off with the skin tones I used a pinkish white for the first layer, and then for the shaded areas I used a new pen that I recently got called Baby Blossoms, and this created a really nice kind of pinkish shade to the skin tone to help with like the shading underneath the hair and underneath the chin. And then for the colouring of Eren's eyes I started off with a base layer of aqua, and then I used duck blue over the top of that for the darker shading towards the top of the iris. For the lighter shade of blue towards the bottom of the eye I used a little bit of frost blue, and then to add a highlight to the eye I used a Uni-ball Signo broad pigment ink white pen. After that I used a cool grey number 3 to add a bit of shading to the top of the eyes. With the skin tones and the eyes completed, it was time to move on to the colouring of the hair. And to begin with, I added a first layer of colouring with maroon. This is another new pen that I recently got, and I think it pairs extremely well with the sepia outlines I'd already added. And then to add some extra shading to the bottom of the hair, I used another pen that I got called Dark Bark. I left some anime style highlighting towards the top of the head, and then I added some shading to it with the cool grey number 1. And then I used the highlighter pen to go around the outlines of that. It's kind of the same style that I used for my Levi drawing, and I'm really pleased with it. I think it makes the highlights stand out even more, having that highlighter pen around the shading. And then with the hair completed, it was time to move on to the colouring of the clothing. For the base layer of the tanned coloured jackets that Eren wears, I used a raw silk Copic marker. And then to add some shading to that I added some light walnut over the top of it. These colours worked really well together as well. I left some highlights around the top edges of the jackets, and I didn't have to rely on the highlighter pen. With the Copic markers I tried to give the effect that the drawing was fading towards the bottom, and I think this effect really works quite well at making this drawing seem almost like a kind of a poster. I decided not to add a comic panel to this drawing. I like to add that to a lot of my drawings, but this time I tried to keep it as like a portrait poster with just like fading towards the bottom. Lastly, for the shirt that Eren's wearing underneath his jacket, I used warm grey number 1 and 3, and then for the belt that's going around that I used the maroon Copic marker again to add that nice dark brown, and then I used the cool grey number 3 for the metal buckle to the belt, added with some highlighter pen over the top of that to give that metal effect. And finally I used hydrangea blue and a deep reddish blue to add the colouring to the logo on Eren's shoulder. And to help contrast the sepia outlines that I already added, I decided to add some black outlines with the Copic multiliner pen. I added some thick black outlines around the outlines of Eren's face and around his eyes and around his neck. And having the contrast between these black outlines and the sepia outlines, I really think it helps to make the sepia outlines show up in a way that I was trying to at the beginning of this drawing. I really tried to make the outlines a more prominent part of this drawing, and I hope it works out. And with that done, the drawing was completed. I think it took about 2.5 hours to complete in total. I had so much fun working on this one, and I've really enjoyed working on Attack on Titan fan art. If you enjoy drawing videos like this, then make sure you're subscribed. And any likes or shares on this video are hugely appreciated, and it really means a lot to me and it helps the channel out. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and follow along with the progress photos throughout the week, then be sure to check out the links in the description box below. And once again, thank you so much for the support on this channel, and thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all soon.